Hi, so just letting you know what you're about to watch, this is going to be 5 videos that were originally intended to be posted on their own, but I think some people were getting kind of annoyed with it sort of flooding their feed with so many different videos, which I understand. So in hindsight, I probably should have clumped them together already, clumping them together now. So we're just going to go with groups of 5 of the top 10. So if you notice any weird editing from video to video, that's mostly going to be the reason why, so just be on the lookout for that. But anyways, let's get into the next 5 on this list. To go back to the offensive lineman well here at number 55, Shaq Mason, formerly of the New England Patriots, now of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You look at his PFF grades, and it's going to make you wonder why in the world did New England give up on him when he was on a pretty good contract for just a 5th-round pick. A very bizarre move to, a strange move to move off of him and draft Cole Strange instead, as you see how his grades have been consistently very good, especially in the run blocking grade, which is, that's his job. He's a guard. You want him to run block. He's been consistently a mid-80s player with the exception of 2019 since 2016. Not only that, but he's played over 1,000 snaps in 5 of the last 6 seasons on top of it, which a lot of times for offensive linemen, I'm going to give you extra credit just for staying on the field and getting more snaps, and that's something that he absolutely can do. As for the play to showcase his talents, this one's kind of a bit of an interesting one. It might seem a bit odd that I'm showing this play, but I think it just shows off what he can do and what his athleticism is and everything like that, where he is the guard on this play. He's number 69, so he's going to end up actually going up to block a defensive back. But what's worth noting is that this is the quarterback sneak, so this is a pretty simple play. This is not anything too complex. But watch what he does. Watch how quickly he gets over and blocks the guy he has to block. You had to make that block quickly, and that's exactly what he was able to do, is he has an incredible first step, which works for things like quarterback sneaks. It works for everything, really, and it does definitely, he makes his impact known. Certainly, he's someone who wins consistently, and he's someone who I'm sure Tampa Bay is very happy they now have. Number 54 on this list comes in the future Hall of Famer who played most of his career for the Seahawks, now will play for the Rams next season. You look at his box score statistics, there's a lot of impressive stuff here. You look at, again, box score statistics can sometimes be misleading, but he definitely earns all of these statistics. Obviously, 2016, 167 combined tackles is just absurd. He's someone who you would assume before too long will end up with 1,000 solo tackles, already has over 1,000 combined tackles, and if he could really stretch out his career, maybe he could get up to 2,000 combined tackles. That would be a bit tough, but gets interceptions over 10 in his career at 11 exactly, gets sacks 23.5 over his career, and is still playing at a high level. You look at his Pro Football Focus grades over the years, so you can see how he was consistently one of the best linebackers in football, specifically from 2016 to 2018. Then kind of, a little bit of a step back in 2019, was just, returned right back to form in 2020, and then back in 2021, another sort of step back. And that is, I think, fair to say that he's not quite the guy he was in 2016, 17, 18, but he's 32. You don't expect him to quite be the guy that he was, back in the day. He can still play at an incredibly high level, though. A play like this is exactly what Wagner does, is he just understands the rules of his defense. He played basically one defense his entire career, which is why I'm very much interested in figuring out what he's going to do with the Rams, although I assume his role will actually be pretty similar. But this is the classic Bobby Wagner play we saw last year, and kind of a classic Jimmy Garoppolo play, but we'll get into that in a second. It's going to be a cover 3 zone. You see where he's supposed to cover. That's the zone that is in white. That's where he's in charge of covering. And the way this works for the 49ers is they run a play action, have a receiver run over the middle, and with Wagner stepping in, this could potentially give some windows to the side of him to make the throw. Right when this play begins, Wagner does step in, and what a lot of guys would do in this situation is turn their back, look towards the receiver, and try to make the play that way. That is not what Wagner is doing. Wagner knows the play. Wagner's a smart player. He's aware of what's happening. What he's going to do is look at Jimmy Garoppolo and make his read based on what he sees from the quarterback. As you see, that's exactly what he does, and he steps in front and gets the interception. Kind of a baffling decision by Garoppolo, there's no denying that, but it was set up by a great play from Bobby Wagner, and these are the things he does well. He knows what position he needs to be in, knows where he should be, makes smart reads, and makes things happen. And that's why he's one of the best to ever do it. Number 53 on this list is the now 2-time Super Bowl champion, Von Miller himself, who is still playing at a very high level. You can look at his box score statistics and say, okay, he's not quite racking up the sacks like he used to, worth noting, there's 2 lines there for the 2021 season because he split time, but 9.5 total sacks if you combine those 2 years, and then 8 sacks the year before. 2018, he had 14.5 sacks, but he also missed the 2020 season, so you could argue that it's been a few years since he, has had a dominant season if you just look at sack numbers. However, the PFF grades would tell you the opposite. Again, no 2020 season, but you see a 90-plus grade in literally every year he's been a pro other than 2018 and 2020, or excuse me, 2019 and 2020. That's absolutely ridiculous. This is a guy who can clearly still play. And to show a play like this in the Super Bowl, I always love to show a Super Bowl highlight play if I can with some of these guys. And I love this play from Miller because it shows how he's winning. He's not winning the way you might expect a guy who is over 33 of being the scrappy veteran who just knows the technique and has all that stuff down. He's winning with athleticism. And this is an example where Aaron Donald is going to get a double team here because of course he is, which then means that the right guard is going to be blocking someone one-on-one, which also means that you kind of know there's going to be a lane in between the right guard and center for Cincinnati. So that's what Von Miller is going to do. He's going to swing around and try to get through that gap. It's what you call a stunt. It's a play that can work out very well, especially when you have an athlete like Von Miller to pull it off. And as you see, watch him just do an incredible job of just being able to get through that gap quickly, gets to Burrow before Burrow can try to scramble out. Burrow tries to run away from him. Sorry, that's not going to work. Von Miller's too fast. He's able to get there and get the sack. So he has all the technique down, but he's still just as big of an athlete as, the next guy. And he certainly, while it might have looked before last season like he might be slowing down, he clearly has not. He's still playing at an incredibly high level, and that's why he's so high on this list. Coming in here at 52 was someone who was very difficult to figure out exactly where to put on this list for several different reasons. It is Creed Humphrey. You look at Creed Humphrey's Pro Football Focus grades, and they are incredible. In fact, he was the best graded center according to PFF last season, which is crazy because he was a rookie, and he also nearly played 1,400 snaps on top of it. So he was a workhorse on top of all of this and still put up a 90-plus overall grade. I think a play like this can really, this is just I think kind of a funny play, if anything else. So it's going to be, I know it's a little blurry, sorry about that. Sometimes the clips I get are blurry, but I like the clips, so I want to use it anyway. He's going to be going up, eventually he's going to be going up against actually 56, the edge rusher for Pittsburgh, because Pittsburgh's running a twist here, meaning that the interior defensive lineman's going to run towards his right. Highsmith, that's the guy that's 56. He will be the one who eventually Humphrey will block, but watch what happens. As you see, so Joe Thuney, the guard, eventually passes off Highsmith to Creed Humphrey. Creed Humphrey has Highsmith kind of locked up in a way where there's not really a lot of area that Highsmith can move. But what I find hilarious about this play is watch. You see Joe Thuney really, he kind of just says, yeah, Creed Humphrey's got it. He kind of just walks around and barely does anything. He's not even concerned about feeling like he has to help out Creed Humphrey at all. He was ready if he needed to be, but the reality was he didn't need to be. Creed Humphrey was going to make that block once he was in position. Creed Humphrey is someone who can block you one-on-one, and there's just so much value in the center position to have somebody who can do that, and he was so consistent as a rookie. Now, we just have a one-year sample size, and he wasn't a spectacular player in college. So because of that, I think it's fair to say I can't put him too much higher on this list, even though he is so, he was so fantastic as a rookie. It's just too small of a sample size for me to put him any higher. But I still have him very high on this list just because of how dominant he was as a rookie. Here at 51, to put a pin in the 50% way through this list, Rashan Gary, who just had a dominant 2021 season, makes the list. Now, you look at his box score statistics, they're not overly impressive. 9.5 sacks last year is good, but that's typically not what you would expect from someone who is 51st in football, according to me, regardless of positional value, especially when his numbers were not very impressive 2020 and 2019, and honestly, his tape wasn't very impressive 2020 and 2019, but the 2021 season, the box score stats might not show it, but a lot of the underlying numbers really show how dominant he was. You look at his Pro Football Focus grade, he was the 5th highest graded edge rusher in football last year, and a big part of it was how often he was getting pressure. Got a lot of pressure, had a very high pass rush win rate, so his run defense was not bad either with a 70.1, but really the pass rush grade of over 90 was kind of what made him so impressive last year and why he is so high on this list, even though he's only played 3 years and only been good for 1 of them. It's stuff like this that he can do so effectively, where what's going to happen is he's the edge rusher, he's going to be on the right side of the screen, so he's going to be going up one-on-one against a right tackle, and watch what happens. Right when this play begins, you see at this point, kind of faking as though he's going to go towards the right side of the screen, but that is obviously not what he is going to do. But watch when he cuts in, he's just so explosive, the tackle can barely even get him, and the tackle kind of even like ended up tackling his own quarterback there, so that wasn't ideal. But just an incredible play from Gary, and he has the physical tools that, you know, he checks off every physical box, there's no denying that. That's kind of part of also why I'm willing to trust that this is who he is when he was drafted, he was a developmental guy. So the fact that he struggled for 2 years, but then really picked it up in his 3rd year, to me says, yeah, we knew you were going to be a developmental guy, and you developed. So I'm cool with that. If he was some random 4th round pick who randomly had a good year, you know, in the middle of his career, I'd still be impressed, but I'd be a little bit more wary. But all of his underlying numbers are very good. Plus, the logic makes sense to me of him getting better after a few years in the league. So that's why I'm willing to put him so high on this list.